The snow-polo rain hammered against the apartment windows as Laura stood in the kitchen, staring at the empty space where her mother's ceramic vase should have been. Her hands trembled as she gripped the marble counter. "Bruno, I swear I put it right here yesterday. The blue vase with the sunflowers, you saw me arrange the roses in it." Bruno leaned against the doorframe, his expression a practiced mask of concern. His dark eyes, which once made her feel safe, now seemed to pierce through her defenses. "Amor, we talked about this. You broke that vase last week, remember? You were upset about work, and it slipped from your hands." "No." Laura's voice cracked. The memory felt foggy, like trying to grasp smoke. "That was the small glass one from the bathroom." "Laura," his voice dropped to that familiar patronizing tone. "You're confusing things again. Maybe you should talk to Dr. Mendez about adjusting your anxiety medication." She watched him pour himself coffee with steady hands, his white dress shirt pristine despite the humid morning. Everything about Bruno was calculated perfection, from his neatly trimmed beard to the way he folded the newspaper into precise quarters. "I'm not taking any medication," she whispered. "Not yet," he said, kissing her forehead. "But maybe it's time to consider it. I'm worried about you, mieux amor. These memory lapses are getting worse." After he left for his law firm, Laura found herself searching every corner of the apartment. The vase had to be somewhere. She wasn't losing her mind. She wasn't. Her phone buzzed. A text from her sister Marina. "Still coming to lunch Sunday. Haven't seen you in months." Laura stared at the message. Had it really been months? Time felt elastic lately, stretching and compressing in ways that made no sense. She started to type a response, then deleted it. What would she say? That she couldn't remember if they'd made plans. That she was afraid to leave the apartment because she might forget where she parked the car. The rain intensified, and with it, the familiar knot in her stomach. She called her best friend, Juliana. "Finally, I was starting to think you'd forgotten I existed." Juliana's warm voice filled the line. "Yuli, I need to ask you something. Last month, when we met for coffee." "Last month, Laura. That was 3 months ago. You've canceled every plan since then." The room spun slightly. 3 months. But Bruno said you called last week to cancel because of your trip to Bahia. Silence stretched between them. "Laura, I haven't been to Bahia since Carnival. Are you okay?" "I don't know," Laura admitted, sinking onto the sofa. "I don't know anymore." That evening, Bruno returned with a bouquet of her favorite orchids and an expression of deep concern. He found her in their bedroom, surrounded by calendars and planners, desperately trying to piece together the last few months. "What's all this?" He set the flowers on the dresser, his movements careful and deliberate. "I'm trying to understand. Yuli says we haven't met in 3 months, but you told me." "Laura, stop." He sat beside her, taking her hands in his. "Juliana called me today. She's worried about you too. She said you sounded confused on the phone, mixing up dates and conversations. She called you." Laura pulled her hands away. "Why would she call you?" "Because she cares about you." "We all do," he stood, loosening his tie. "I've made an appointment with Dr. Mendez for Monday." "This has gone too far. I don't need a psychiatrist." "Then explain the vase. Explain why you insisted we had dinner with your parents last Tuesday when they've been in Portugal for 2 weeks. Explain why you keep accusing me of moving your things when you're the only one who touches them." Each word landed like a precisely aimed dart. Laura felt her certainty crumbling. Maybe he was right. Maybe the stress from losing her marketing job 6 months ago had finally broken something inside her. The dismissal itself was fuzzy. Bruno said she'd been let go for missing deadlines, but she remembered working late every night, exceeding every target. "I'm scared," she finally admitted, tears streaming down her face. Bruno pulled her into his arms, stroking her hair. "I know, amor, but I'm here. I'll always be here. We'll get through this together." As she cried against his chest, Laura didn't see the slight smile that played at the corners of his mouth. She only felt the familiar comfort of his embrace, even as the walls of her reality continued to crack and shift around her. Outside, the snow-pala skyline glittered through the rain. Millions of lights in millions of windows, each hiding its own secrets. And in apartment 1247, Lara began to believe that the greatest betrayal wasn't in what was being hidden from her, but in what she was being made to hide from herself. Chapter 2. The discovery the renovation had been Bruno's idea. A fresh start, he'd said, gesturing around their bedroom with enthusiasm that seemed genuine. New paint, new furniture arrangement. It'll be good for you, Lara. Change the energy in here. Now, 3 days into the project, Lara stood alone in the chaos of their dismantled bedroom. The contractors had left early for the holiday weekend. Corpus Christi, and Bruno was at another urgent client meeting that seemed to materialize whenever she needed him most. She had been trying to move the heavy wooden bookshelf away from the wall, determined to prove she could still accomplish something without confusion or error. The summer heat made the work harder, sweat beading on her forehead as she struggled with the furniture. That's when she noticed a section of the wall panel that didn't sit flush with the rest. The wood was slightly warped, creating a gap just wide enough to slip her fingers through. Probably water damage, she muttered, prying at the panel. It came loose easier than expected, revealing a shallow space between the walls. Her hand brushed against something that didn't belong, smooth leather instead of rough wood and insulation. Her heart hammered as she pulled out a journal, its black cover worn at the edges. No title, no name, just expensive leather and an elastic band holding it closed. She recognized it immediately. Bruno's handwriting supplies were as meticulous as everything else in his life: Montblanc pens, moleskin notebooks, imported paper from Italy. Lara glanced toward the apartment door, listening for footsteps in the hallway. Nothing but the distant hum of São Paulo traffic and the neighbor's television bleeding through the walls. She opened the journal. May 15th, first successful test today. Moved her car keys from the kitchen hook to the bedroom dresser. When she couldn't find them, I helped her search, then suggested she must have left them there herself when changing purses. The look of self-doubt in her eyes was exactly what I'd hoped for. She apologized for wasting my time. The words blurred as tears filled her eyes. She flipped forward, hands shaking. June 3rd, told her that her sister called to cancel lunch. Marina hasn't actually called in weeks, but Elle doesn't know that. I've been deleting the calls from her log while she showers. She's starting to believe she's the one pushing people away. June 20th, the medication suggestion is working. Every time she questions something, I mention Dr. Mendez, anxiety, stress from losing her job. Note, she didn't lose it for performance. I called her boss, Ricardo, pretending to be her doctor, said she was having mental health issues and needed immediate leave. When she didn't show up for 3 days because I told her the office was closed for renovations, they had no choice but to let her go. She still doesn't know. Lara's legs gave out. She slid down the wall, the journal clutched against her chest. Each breath came in sharp gasps as the room spun, but this time, it wasn't confusion. It was clarity, terrible and absolute. July 8th. She asked about the vase again. I almost laughed. It's in the storage unit with half her other things. The beauty is in the gaslighting technique. Make them doubt small things first, then escalate. Classical conditioning at its finest. July 15th. Perfection. She actually thanked me today for being patient with her confusion. The control, almost complete. Soon she'd be entirely dependent, unable to trust any thought or memory without my validation. The perfect wife. Thunder rumbled outside, matching the storm in her chest. She kept reading, each entry more calculating than the last. There were strategies, timelines, even diagrams of the apartment marking where he'd hidden things. Her grandmother's ring, the photo album from college, letters from friends, all carefully catalogued and stored away while he convinced her she'd misplaced them. August 2nd, considering the next phase. Once she's on medication, Dr. Mendez owes me several favors from the Cardo showcase. It'll be easier to convince her family she needs more intensive treatment. The clinic in Campos do Jordão is private, discreet. No one will question a devoted husband caring for his troubled wife. The apartment door clicked. Lara. Amor. I brought dinner from that Japanese place you like. His voice sent ice through her veins. She scrambled to her feet, shoving the journal back into the wall cavity and pushing the panel into place. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. In here, she called. grabbing a paint roller to look busy. Bruno appeared in the doorway, take-out bags in hand, his face shifting to concern. "You're pale. Have you eaten today?" I don't remember." The lie tasted bitter, but necessary. He set down the food and approached her, studying her face with those dark eyes that now looked like a predator's. "You're working too hard. Come, let's eat. You can tell me about your day." As she followed him to the kitchen, Lara's mind raced. Every instinct screamed to confront him, to throw his journal in his face and demand answers. But something in those cold, calculated entries warned her. This wasn't just cruelty, it was a systematic plan, and she was already trapped in its web. "The renovation is looking good," Bruno said, unpacking containers of sushi. "Though I think we should reconsider moving the bookshelf. It's been in that spot since we moved in." "Why change now?" "You're right," Lara forced herself to say. "I don't know what I was thinking." He smiled, reaching across to squeeze her hand. "That's my girl. See, you just need to trust me. I always know what's best for us." As he talked about his day, describing the client meeting that Lara now suspected never happened, she nodded and smiled, but behind her calm facade, a plan was forming. She'd found his journal once. She could find it again. And this time, she'd be ready. The storm outside intensified, rain lashing against the windows. But for the first time in months, Lara's mind felt clear. She wasn't crazy. She never had been. And Bruno had no idea that his perfect victim had just discovered the script. Chapter 3. The evidence. Lara became a detective in her own life. For 3 days after finding the journal, she perfected the art of deception, ironic, considering she was the one who'd been labeled delusional. She took her confusion to new heights, apologizing for misremembering things, thanking Bruno for his patience, even suggesting she might need that appointment with Dr. Mendez after all. "I'm so glad you're finally accepting help," Bruno had said over breakfast, his satisfaction barely concealed. "I've been so worried about you." While he was at work, she retrieved the journal. Her phone camera captured every page, every diagram, every cold calculation of her destruction. She uploaded everything to a cloud account he didn't know existed, then emailed copies to a new address she'd created at the local internet cafe. The entries went back further than she'd initially seen. 2 years of planning before they'd even met. March 10th, 2 years ago. Attended the marketing conference where Elle works. She gave a presentation on brand psychology, ironically appropriate. Strong-willed, independent, close family ties. Perfect challenge. Started research. March 15th. Created fake LinkedIn profile as a headhunter. Connected with her colleagues to learn more. She runs every morning at Ibirapuera Park, prefers the northern entrance, always wears blue headphones. April 2nd. First accidental meeting at the park. Pretended to be lost, asked for directions. She was kind, helpful, memorized her running schedule. Lara had to stop reading several times, rushing to the bathroom as nausea overwhelmed her. Their entire relationship, every sweet moment, every shared laugh, every coincidence that brought them together had been choreographed. She found references to other women, 3 names, with notes like Project Incomplete and relocated to Salvador to Unstable. Her hands trembled as she photographed these pages. Was she just the latest in a series, the most successful experiment? On Thursday morning, she made her move. "Bruno, I think I need to visit my sister," she said over coffee, keeping her voice small and uncertain. "Would that be okay? I feel like I've been neglecting my family." He looked up from his tablet, studying her. "That's sudden. Are you sure you're up for the drive to Santos? Maybe I should come with you." "No," she said quickly, then softened. "I mean, you have that big case. Marina and I need some sister time. Girl talk, you know." "How long?" "Just the weekend. I'll be back Sunday night." He considered this, then nodded. "Take your medication with you, and call me when you arrive, so know you're safe." She packed light, including things he wouldn't expect her to remember were important documents he thought he'd hidden. Jewelry he'd convinced her she'd lost. The journal stayed behind, returned to its hiding place. Let him think his secret was safe. Instead of driving to Santos, Lara went to a small hotel in the Villa Madalena neighborhood. From there, she made 3 crucial stops. First, the bank. She had been alarmed to discover how much control Bruno had gained over their finances. Joint accounts she didn't remember opening. Her salary redirected to accounts he managed for her own good. The bank manager, Senator Acosta, frowned as she reviewed the records. "These signatures," she said quietly, "some of them, they don't quite match your original documents." "I know," Laura said. "That's why I need copies of everything." Second stop, her former workplace. Ricardo, her old boss, was shocked to see her. "Laura, we heard you were. Well, that you were getting treatment." "Treatment for what, exactly?" His discomfort was obvious. "Your husband, sorry. Your doctor called. Said you were having a breakdown? Needed immediate medical leave. When you didn't return our calls. What calls?" "When?" They spent an hour reconstructing the timeline. Every call matched a deleted entry in Bruno's journal. Every medical update he'd provided had pushed them to terminate her employment for her own well-being. "My God," Ricardo whispered. "Laura, I'm so sorry. We thought we were helping." The third stop was the hardest, a law office in a gleaming tower in Faria Lima. Patricia Soares specialized in domestic abuse cases, though Laura had never imagined she'd need such services. "Psychological abuse is harder to prove than physical," the lawyer said, reviewing the journal photos on Laura's phone. "But this this is extraordinary evidence. He documented his own crimes. Is it enough?" "More than enough, but we need to be strategic. Do you have somewhere safe to stay?" As they discussed options, Laura's phone buzzed. "Bruno, you never called. Are you at Marina's?" She typed back. "Sorry, forgot. Just arrived." Phone was on silent. His response was immediate. "Send me a photo with your sister. Just want to know you're safe. Dra." Patricia looked at the message and shook her head. "Control. Always control. Don't respond yet. Let me make some calls first." By Friday afternoon, Laura had a plan, a legal team, and something she hadn't felt in months: hope. But she also had a problem. Bruno was getting suspicious. His texts had evolved from concerned to demanding. "Marina says you're not there. Where are you?" "Laura, this isn't like you to lie." She stared at the message. Knowing her time was running out, tomorrow, she'd have to return to the apartment one last time. The journal needed to be secured as evidence before he could destroy it. "Had a panic attack," she finally typed. "Went to a hotel instead. Didn't want Marina to see me like this. Coming home tomorrow." "Which hotel?" "I'll come get you." "No, I need to do this myself. Please understand." The three dots appeared and disappeared several times. Finally, "We'll discuss this tomorrow. I'm disappointed in you, Laura." She turned off the phone and looked out at the São Paulo skyline. Somewhere in that maze of buildings and lives, Bruno was probably updating his journal, documenting her deteriorating condition and planning his next move. But Laura was done being a character in his twisted narrative. Tomorrow, she would write her own ending. Chapter 4. The Liberation Saturday morning arrived with unusual clarity. No rain. No clouds, just brilliant sunshine streaming through São Paulo's typically smoggy sky. Laura stood outside apartment building, her lawyer's words echoing in her mind. "Get the journal. Get out. We'll handle the rest." To plainclothes officers waited in an unmarked car across the street. Patricia had worked fast, securing an emergency protective order based on the photographed evidence. But they needed the original journal to make everything stick. Laura's hands were steady as she entered the building. The doorman, Sue Jose, smiled warmly. "Donna Laura, feeling better? Dr. Bruno said you were visiting family." "Much better, thank you," she replied, marveling at how Bruno's lies had infected every corner of her life. The elevator ride felt eternal. At the door, she paused, listening. Silence. Bruno's car wasn't in the garage, but that meant nothing. He could have taken an Uber, could be waiting inside, testing her. She opened the door. Bruno. The apartment was empty, but something felt wrong. The renovation materials had been cleared away. The bedroom restored to perfect order. To perfect. Her heart sank as she rushed to the bookshelf, now firmly anchored to the wall with new brackets. No. She pulled at the panel behind it. Sealed. Fresh putty filled every gap. Looking for something, she spun around. Bruno stood in the doorway, immaculate in his weekend casual wear, holding two cups of coffee. I thought you were at the office. I was. But I figured you'd come home this morning. He set down the cups, his movements deliberate. Marina called yesterday, said she was worried because you hadn't been answering her texts. Imagine her surprise when I asked how your visit was going. Lara's mind raced. The officers were outside. All she had to do was get to the door. I can explain. No need. He pulled out his phone, showing her a security app. I installed cameras 2 weeks ago. Interesting viewing. Watching you tear apart our bedroom wall. Find anything good? Her blood turned to ice. Nothing to say. That's unlike you. Usually, you have so many confused little thoughts to share. He stepped closer. Did you really think I wouldn't notice that I hadn't planned for this possibility? It's over, Bruno. He laughed, a sound she'd never heard from him before. Cold, genuinely amused. Over. Lara, Querida, we're just getting started. Who's going to believe you? The woman who lost her job for mental instability, who's been seeing psychiatrists, whose own family is concerned about her delusions. I have evidence. You have photos of a journal that no longer exists. I could have written those entries yesterday. Photoshop is remarkable these days. He circled her slowly. Meanwhile, I have months of documented concern. Text messages to your family, worried emails to your friends, medical recommendations, a paper trail of a devoted husband trying desperately to help his troubled wife. Lara felt the familiar fog trying to creep in. The doubt he'd cultivated so carefully. Then she remembered something Patricia had said. Abusers are confident because they've never faced consequences. That confidence is their weakness. You're right, she said suddenly. Bruno paused, suspicion flickering across his face. I am troubled. I am confused. I've been acting strangely. She moved toward the kitchen, forcing him to follow. But you know what the strangest part is, Bruno? What? That I never questioned why a successful lawyer would spend 2 years orchestrating an elaborate plan to destroy one woman. She opened a drawer, pretending to look for something. Never wondered what kind of person needs that level of control. Never asked myself ... what happened to the others. His face changed. What others? Camila in Salvador, Patricia in Recife, Anna in Belo Horizonte. She watched his confidence fracture. Did you think I only photographed your recent entries? 2 years of journals, Bruno. 2 years of experiments. All uploaded, all documented, all sent to the federal police. You're lying. Am I? She pulled out her phone. Should we call Detective Ferreira? He was very interested in those missing person reports, especially after Camilla's family confirmed she'd been dating a lawyer named Bruno before she suddenly needed treatment and disappeared. The silence stretched between them like a taut wire. You have no proof, he said finally, but his voice had lost its certainty. I have your handwriting, your detailed plans, your trophy keeping. She smiled, and for the first time in months, it was genuine. Did you know that when you write about your successes, your handwriting pressure increases? A graphologist would find that fascinating. The prosecutor certainly did. Bruno lunged forward, but Lara was ready. She grabbed the coffee pot and swung, catching him across the temple. He stumbled, giving her enough time to reach the door. Help! She screamed. Socorro! The officers were already in the hallway, having heard everything through the wire she'd worn. Bruno tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. As they restrained him, he looked at Lara with pure hatred. You were supposed to be weak, he snarled. You were supposed to break. I did break, Lara said quietly. But broken things can be rebuilt stronger. 6 months later, the São Paulo courthouse was packed. 3 more women had come forward after Bruno's arrest, each with similar stories of systematic psychological torture. The journal, retrieved from the wall during the crime scene investigation, had been authenticated by multiple experts. Lara sat in the witness stand, no longer the confused, frightened woman who'd questioned her own sanity. Her voice was clear as she recounted her story, each word a reclamation of her truth. He made me doubt my own memories, my own perceptions, my own worth, she testified. But the cruelest part was making me complicit in my own destruction. Every apology I made for things I hadn't done, every time I thanked him for his patience, I was helping him erase me. Bruno watched from the defendant's table, his lawyer unsuccessful in maintaining his client's composed facade. The evidence was overwhelming, the testimonies damning. When the verdict came guilty on all counts, Lara felt something release in her chest. Not celebration, but relief. Freedom. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited, but Lara walked past them to where her sister Marina stood with their parents, Juliana, and even Ricardo from her old job. "I'm proud of you," Marina whispered, pulling her into a tight embrace. "I'm proud of me too," Lara replied. As they walked away from the courthouse, Lara's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Thank you for being brave. Your story gave me the courage to look closer at my own relationship. I found my own hidden journal today." Lara typed back, "You're not crazy. Trust yourself, and if you need help, I'm here." The sun was setting over São Paulo, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Lara had lost her job, her apartment, and months of her life to Bruno's manipulation. But she'd gained something invaluable, the unshakable knowledge that her mind, her memories, and her truth belonged to her alone. And no one, no matter how cunning, how careful, how cruel, could ever take that away again. In her pocket, she carried a small card from her new support group for psychological abuse survivors. Tomorrow, she would share her story again, helping others find their way out of the fog, because when the truth is discovered, not even the strongest walls can contain it. And sometimes, the most powerful revelation isn't just in what we find, but in remembering who we were before someone tried to make us forget.